It's to where you say that you have to remind yourself and be thankful for all the things you have. That's definitely a brilliant approach, but it is okay. It is totally all right.
And it's difficult at times to kind of come out that process.
Definitely. It's a loop. I mean, it's an abyss sort of. From if I were to explain it in words, I feel like whenever the lower side of you or the lower phase hits you, it's sort of an abyss and there's only going down. It's a downward spiral rather. There's only going down. There's no coming up. But you guys, if any of you are feeling this way, let me tell you, and let me tell you, Shahzad, it's totally all right. You're only human. We can feel that. We have a brain, we have a mind that works a certain way. We have chemicals and hormones in our body that are supposed to perform a certain way. Not necessarily it's going to be positive always. While things can be negative, why don't we get together to sort of learn how to deal with that negativity or how to deal with that part of your life which is not in your control. And to talk about that, I think we have someone very special. But one quick thing, because I really don't want to say anything wrong in here, but there was a research of how violent video games really bothers children. But now, technically speaking, there are no researches of how media content can make a child violent. But yes, definitely there are researches of how it can sort of trigger your complexes or trigger your, traumas for that matter, which can make you self-harm, like
exactly.
you said.
And you know, you're very right, because you know, while I was growing up, I used to watch Ninja Turtles quite a lot.
And you wanted to be Ninja Turtles?
I know, and imagine, so I actually had a what do we call it, a sweater or a jersey, so which had Ninja Turtles all over it, printed. So what I would do is I would wear that jersey and climb onto somewhere higher and then jump down. I mean, obviously it does kind of come under the umbrella of self-harm, even though if I want to be a Ninja Turtle, I might not even have the physical capacity to do so. So why are we doing that? How do we refer to that behavior if there's somebody, a kid in particular? Ladies and gentlemen, we really need to help them. How can we help them is something which we will be discussing now. Alhamdulillah, first of all, we would kind of talk about how to, or what kinds to look, different behaviors we need to look into, God forbid, if your kid is more inclined towards self-harm. And to talk about that, we're actually very lucky that we've actually been joined by a consultant clinical psychologist. She happens to be Ms. Halima Qureshi. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Good morning, and thank you so much for inviting me over here for this lovely topic and the discussion. And I really enjoyed your conversation back there, the way you held up about talking about mental health and all the children researches and all that. So I'm really impressed that you are so much into the mental health.
We are, you know what, thank you so much for saying that, but we definitely are. Because while Shahzad and myself, on our individual level, we might also face bad days, which is only natural.
Yesterday it was for me.
Oh, I hope you're better now.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
And I would agree over here for me as well.
Right?
Because we are psychologists and we are humans as well.
Right. So a lot of people actually write to us. I don't know about you, Shahzad, but on our page, especially on my individual pages, a lot of people reach out. And it always makes us think as a team that we need to do shows on this. So you're here for that. And you actually had your research, your PhD research done on self-harm, which is such an important topic. So thank you for being here. Let's start with what self-harm, what accounts as self-harm.
Actually, the self-harm, when we are talking about, if we are talking about different ranges of the ages, like we are talking about adolescents, if we are talking about children, as Shahzad just pointed out, that exposure to the media, exposure to the violent video games or some sort of such stimulation which is that much stimulating the brain chemistry, or the person that he is or now attuned or he is habitual to that level of stimulation. So when they get out into their real life and they don't get that much stimulation, because our real life is not that much stimulated as much it is on the screens or everywhere we are going to play that. So that stimulation, when they need that in their real life, that going to trigger that they have some fascination, they need some they need some excitement in their life. So that could, if they are not going to find that, they will miss that and they will try to find ways how they could achieve that.
So in layman's word, in trying to make sure that you know that our audiences follow what you're trying to say is, so imagine that while I'm playing PUBG, if I am playing, so I will obviously have a release of dopamine in my brain, and you know it's going to kind of stimulate my activities, and I'll be like, oh, you know, I need to do this, I need to do that. So imagine in real life, if you do not have such a trigger, how do you think you will feel happy? Because dopamine kind of takes you towards being happy as well.
Right.
So how do you think that we can replace that trigger of while we're playing PUBG, that dopamine is being released? How can we release it in normal days? You know, so how can I do it even now? Even though I think that there's an overrush of dopamine in my brain as of now, but how do we do that?
Yeah, and we can also say that there is an adrenaline rush that they want to feel in that sort of games. So they could artificially achieve that as well from playing those games. So in real life, I could say that making their life more exciting and limiting the time of that stimulation, because they were habitual for that much stimulation, because they were addicted maybe, or they were exposed for a longer duration of time. As we say that excess of everything is bad, so excess of that stimulation makes it a habit. If they are going to use it for 2 hours or something like that and 24 hours a day for adolescents, for children it's much lower duration, that they will not be that much stimulated. So in their real life they will be happy with their friends, they will be able to compensate all those energy in their socialization, in their outdoor activities, because we are very unfortunate, and the present generation is very unfortunate that they don't have the avenues for outdoor games and outdoor time.
I mean, at least in Islamabad, I'm going to disagree with that, but okay, you know, there are a lot of cities where we do have a lot of parks and people really need to go over there, but people do not find it interesting to take their children to parks because there's nothing for them to do over there. You know, if there was something for parents to do at a park, they would certainly leave their kids at the park and do whatever they want to do.
But even couples don't go. I mean, because of a military background, I feel like, Shahzad, on a daily basis, walking was a part of our routine, or going to a park, or exercising for that matter. And now I keep begging my husband, I'll walk pe chale. He's like, tum jao. I mean,
you're asking the wrong guy, probably.
So it's definitely, you know, it's not a habit anymore. But coming back to, so are you saying that bad time consumption is also self-harm, or it leads to self-harm?
It could lead to self-harm, because when they are not going to get out their emotional energies as well, and let's not just focus on media. There are a lot of other aspects which can trigger the self-harm as well. The other things are related to emotional and psychological well-being of the person. The adolescents, then when they are having the competition sort of thing in their social circle, and when they are going to school, there is some sort of materialism which is very much focused in our society right now. So they want to compete on that status value as well, and that competition on the socioeconomic status, or struggling to show that we have something in our own self, the uniqueness in our own self. So that aspect of adolescence, and in adolescence, this is for the first time in the person's life that they achieve that aspect of uniqueness, that they want to achieve that uniqueness, and that stage is so much sensitive in a way that they don't know a lot of other aspects, but they know we know everything. So that is a very dangerous spot, and they are on the edge of everything because they can't understand the consequences of the things, but they are at the edge of the cliff, that they understand that we know every aspect of our situation.
And that's what I wanted to talk about, because I do see, you know, Alhamdulillah, I have 3 lovely daughters, and they're always very wonderful. But till the time you're listening to what they want, and all of a sudden when you do not give them what they want, they're not more inclined, alhamdulillah, they're not inclined towards self-harm, but they're inclined towards daddy harming as well. You know, so what they would do is, what they would do is that all 3 of them will get together, start hitting me, you know, probably how kids do as well. So do you think that that's something to be worried about? Or we should only be worried about self-harming?
I guess
there's a lot of daddy harm I have taken so far.
Just to mention, they're toddlers. They're not...
obviously.
All right. I guess they are so lucky to have such a father, first of all. And after all, if they are going to reach, when they are going to reach their teenage, if that is going to sustain,
then it's a problem.
Then it will be much better, because they have the avenue.
The problem with the youngest one is that she knows how to hit, so she hits with her knuckles. She hits like that. And I'm like, man, I don't know who's teaching them. And then I look at my wife, and then I'm like, okay, you know, probably that's where it came down from. But okay, how bad do you think that self-harm can get? And at what point do you think that we really need some medical attention or help?
Self-harm is actually always very secret, mostly always very secret. Most of the cases, they don't let their family know, they don't let their friends know that they are doing self-harm. And there is another part of self-harm where they want their peers, their friends, their family to know that they are doing self-harm, but that self-harm is just to showcase. Yes, that is just to showcase. To use that self-harm for their own ends, yes, for their own benefits, to manipulate their relationships, to manipulate some things they want.
The blackmail.
Yes. So this is one aspect, and the other aspect, which is secrecy, we are talking about. In secrecy, when the child is involved, when the adolescent is involved in the secret self-harm, then that's a very serious consequences. We cannot estimate that how many cases in the emergency wards of the hospitals we used to experience because of the secrecy of that self-harm, because sometimes that self-harm could went wrong, and it could lead to very serious consequences, endangering the child's life or adolescent's life. So the reasons behind that, which you might be asking, that what are going to be causes of that. So the first thing is peer pressure, the competition in the society, if their wishes and demands, exactly, within the family and at home, because adolescent is more concerned about home and the peer, so they want some standing over there, they want some say over there, and they want their more importance.
Oh, mommy, look at she's got all the dolls. I want some as well.
But you know, it's the purpose of discussing this, and thank you for being so well versed as well. You brilliantly explained it. Is definitely awareness. You know, it's about an image, definitely. When you say that it's all about what the parents are going to think about us, what the classmates are going to think about, or our friends, all the social circles, or friends of friends, it's about image, you know, what you're going to portray to the people around you. So I think on an individual level, first of all, it's about self-esteem that needs to be absolutely so strengthened and so strong that nothing is going to bother you. Secondly, this is the thing that I'm now going to say is going to talk to all the parents, especially who are having a hard time with their kids, kids who are probably in depression or probably, you know, harming themselves even. Yes. So rather than, I feel like culturally over here in this area, I want to say Pakistan too, it does get, parents do tend to get angrier quicker as compared to others. It's all right, my parents get angry as well, but I want you to take a moment and try to understand the child. But rather than the chitrol, or rather than, you know, hitting them, I want speak to them, understand them, because as a person, it's not easy for them to pick up a knife or to pick up a blade for that matter. And especially if they're doing it in secrecy, it is definitely not easy. It takes a lot of courage. It takes all that you have to take the decision to cut yourself, watch yourself bleed, then, you know, sort of cover the, you know, injury whatsoever. Please talk to them. And if you're a friend of such a person, if you see arms or legs harmed, because I saw a leg harmed and I had to convene with one person.
We saw an arm harmed.
Right. So if you see something like that, please speak to them. Don't make fun of them in public. Take them on a side. If they don't want to open up, just tell them, hey, I want to sit with you. I want to talk. Let me know when you have time. Let's talk. Just be there for them. It's very important.
And you know what? This is Sigma rule number 1, ladies and gentlemen, that you really need to kind of, even if you're giving, I mean, if it's a compliment, you can do it publicly, but if you need to tell somebody, hey, you know what, this shirt does not look good on you, or probably, you know, your shoes needs to be polished or something of that sort, please make sure that you do it while they're all by themselves. You know, don't do it in front of the public, because then you're not helping them, rather you're pushing them towards more dangerous situation as well. Absolutely. Now what I want you to talk about, okay, you know, so let's talk about how our parents, Shiza, in the first place, actually made sure that we will have that self-esteem where nobody's going to bog us down. So imagine as a kid when our parents were struggling and were trying to give us a good life, alhamdulillah. So imagine that, you know, we didn't have enough money or enough resources that I couldn't take a burger and that too for lunch every single day. So my mother would make me a paratha and an egg, and she would tell me that, hey, you know what, only the strong boys eat a paratha and an egg.
That's so sweet.
And no matter what happens, you know, make sure that you own this paratha and an egg, because this is something which your parents are trying to share with you. And that's what I exactly did. While growing up, obviously everybody wants to kind of have a burger or a chana chaat or a cold drink or, you know, something. You know, every kid fantasizes, okay, what am I going to take for tomorrow? You know, so what happened was that eventually 10 or 12 of my friends ended up having anda paratha in break time. And it was beautiful, because when you stand by your values, ladies and gentlemen, nobody will ever be able to put you down. And not just that, please make sure that you always have a heart which is saying thank you to Allah Almighty every single day. And even if you are in distress, please make sure that you hold patience. Ladies and gentlemen, is a talent. That's something I kind of keep on talking about. And Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that, you know, that the only distance in between you and paradise is basically this sabr, and everybody needs to have it. Which is why I'm going to come down to you. Now the problems are very different because of modern parents. The way we were growing up, or the way our parents kind of looked after us. Not that they said no to us, but unfortunately there were resources which were not probably in our favor. You know, in fact there were no resources. You know, so let's talk about that. Now the nurturing or the grooming of the child is very different. With all of us being parents, I would never hit my daughters. I would never do that. Even my father never did that as well. So, you know, I kind of want to follow those footsteps. But there has to be somebody who needs to kind of behave like a monitor for children, so that, you know, one parent, they can share everything, and one parent, they know that, God forbid, if we are going to step outside the line, okay, mom's going to beat us. What do you have to say about that?
I guess you have covered it very beautifully over here, that the openness the parents need, that is a must for the present generation. As you have quoted this Islamic quotation as well, and I would like to say, Hazrat Ali also quoted that don't try to raise your children
the way you were being raised.
The way you were being raised. So that just explains everything, that these kids are not for that times when we were being raised. So we have to understand the challenges they are going to come across. They have new challenges, they have new competitions, they have increased stimulation, they have number of resources, they have to cope all of those things in just 24 hours. And we have so little resources, and we have to use them for 24 hours. So they have to compensate every area in every domain of their life in that just 24 hours. So that if I am going to give you some task and I give you 30 minutes and I give you 30 more tasks, then you will feel pressured. And that is true for that adolescent, and he is in that age where he is unable to handle. He has not learned how to handle these stresses, so he is going to be frustrated. So what we have to do is we have to figure out what are the stresses, what are the challenges the child is facing. And the first thing, the parents could do something in that, because they don't know. We cannot rely on their social circle alone, because parents are have the guiding force. We don't know the social circle will drive them in any way, anywhere around. So we can't control that, but parents can control the way they are going to on their values they are going to teach, on the cultural values, on the moral and ethical values they are going to teach. And the first thing is they have to be real friends of their children, I would like to say.
Exactly. And thank you very much for saying that, because, you know, towards the end, that's one thing which I'm going to ask, and that is that, you know, so for example, we wake up every day in the morning, you know, we sleep at night, you know, it's going to be rainy, it's going to be sunny, either it's going to be cold, so there's all sorts of weather which we have to live through. And what I believe is that, you know, not every single day you will be the happiest. You know, so it's life, you know, there will be occasions when unfortunately you will be sad, there will be occasions when you'll be happy. So there needs to be a fine balance in between, knowing that, okay, you know, yeah, being sad is a part of life as well, and it will get better. Let's just sleep on that. So for somebody who's just looking to be happy every single moment, alhamdulillah, I hope and pray that may you stay happy like that. But that's just not natural then. You know, imagine that if I'm jumping on the sofa every single day, hey, you know what, I'm really happy, I'm excited. You know, that cannot happen. It's not natural.
Is it healthy? That's equally not healthy.
Yes, so that's what I wanted to ask.
Yes. So we could suggest that the balance of that communication, the balance, decorum will be there. The parents don't have to jump with their kids and they have to be friends in their adolescence. At younger age you could do that with your daughters. but in that age the decorum will be there. It is not that if we are going to listen to someone we are going to lose respect for that relation. So that is not going to be true. But the thing is that parents have to give space to their children. So they can listen to their problems and they can communicate and advise them better. And it is of two folds. parents used to think that we have just emotionally supporting them and we are going through a lot.
True.
So in adolescence, you could share your miseries, you could share your bad days with them, and it is going to help you
exactly.
as well.
And that's exactly what my daughter did yesterday as well. So she came back from school and she said, Dad, you know, the Hardee's you brought yesterday, my friends ate it. And I was like, hey, you know what, you never got a chance to eat a single strip of chicken? She was like, no. So I was like, okay, so why does it make you sad? She said that I was willing to share and I shared it with everybody. I went to wash my hands, came back, it was gone. I was like, it's okay, you know, we can get some more.
So
and then we continue to share. I think that's what the message was, that, hey, you know what, even if somebody ate it, they might be more hungry than you. So that's it. I mean, please make sure that you certainly give them an outlook of a world where everything is bright.
Definitely, but thank you so much for being with us, and thank you so much for being so informative.
Oh, my
It was
pleasure.
absolutely brilliant. We'd love to have you again,
so
inshallah. Ladies and gentlemen, just do remember towards the end, any time that you're going through, good or bad, it shall pass. So be prepared for the next, be happy for what you're going through, and you'll be set, inshallah. We'll see you tomorrow again at the same time.
Exactly.
1, 2, 3. Good morning.
Good morning.